That's not John McMullen. You should notice that. There's a slight difference between he and my co-host this hour. Barrett Brooks sitting in for Johnny Mack, who had to run over to Eagleville for a Sirianni press conference. So I'm lucky enough to get Barrett to sit in with me. I want to ask about pressure in a second, Barrett, as a former player and dealing with the transition from regular season pressure to postseason pressure. But before we do that, I want to put you on the hot seat. Give you a quickie quiz. Eagles Giants just 4 weeks ago played, and the Eagles won 48-22. Who was the leading Giant rusher that day?
I think it was Daniel Jones, wasn't it?
No. Take another guess.
Was it that rookie running back, the young running back? I know because I know we held Saquon like right around 30 yards, wasn't it?
Right.
I don't know who it was.
I'll give you the gut. Matt Breida ran it 3 times for 6 yards. Gary Brightwell, who was the young running back you were talking about, made a couple plays, as a matter of fact, 5 times for 23 yards. Daniel Jones carried it 4 times for 26 yards. Saquon Barkley carried it 9 times for 28 yards. Damn good, just over 3 yards per carry. And the leading rusher with 40 yards in 2 attempts, Tyrod Taylor, went off on a 34-yard run, and his other 32-yard run, his other one was for 8 yards. So he led the Giants. Tyrod Taylor led the Giants in rushing the last time the Eagles and the Giants met.
I know our defense were playing, man. They were headhunting that game, bro. So I mean, I definitely understand. I can remember Saquon at the time. He wasn't healthy either. You know, he's still suffering that neck injury. So he had the big Tom Rathman pad on, neck brace on out there playing. That game was an unbelievable game, and that's the type of football we got to get back to. So why not go against a division opponent, get our game back, get our game face back on, get more established, go into this playoffs ready to roll. That's what we need right there. That type of performance is exactly what we need.
Fair enough. Although the Giants have been better since that game, qualified for the playoffs, made their run to lock up a spot, so they do have flexibility this week. Meanwhile, the Eagles have kind of stubbed their toe pretty badly, or maybe I should say thrown their shoulder out of whack because of Jalen Hurts, because they still do need the game. All right. I ran this by both BLG and Johnny Mack in the first hour. I need to put that much more of an emphasis on your opinion because, again, been there, done that. Former NFL player with a team going into the postseason. Pressure. There's pressure on the Eagles this week. Certainly more pressure than there was 2 weeks ago when they knew they only had to win 1 out of 3 games to get the number 1 seed. Well, we let 2 slip out of their hands, and we're down to just 1 game that they controlled their own destiny. So that raises the pressure. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Because next week, maybe get an extra week rest, you get a bye, but soon enough, you're going to have playoff pressure. Hopefully in your own house to lessen the pressure a little bit, but pressure just the same because it's the postseason. This team got off to a quick start, kind of distanced themselves from everyone in the division, have been gliding through a season, more power to them, without a whole hell of a lot of pressure. Now they got pressure. Is that a good thing or a bad thing leading into the playoffs?
I think it's a good thing. I think they needed this pressure because they did roll through this season pretty efficiently. They were fundamentally sound, for a major part of this season, and they need to get back to being more fundamentally sound. I can remember saying, 3/4 of the season, they were crossing their T's and dotting their I's. They were playing fundamentally sound. They were doing the things they needed to win, takeaway battle. They were making sure that on the offensive side of the ball, they're running the ball consistently. They did those type of things. Well, they're not doing those things anymore. They're turning the ball over. They're not playing consistent, fundamentally sound football. They got to get back to that. They got to get back to one snap, one drive, 1 quarter, 1 half. They've got to get back to playing that type of football. Just taking care of business. The next play, the next man up. That mentality has to be surfaced within that locker room again. And I think what got lost in the translation was Jalen Hurts' ability to be that rah-rah guy. Yes, he's in the locker room and everybody sees him. but it's nothing like seeing your leader on the field. And as a leader on the team, sometimes you tend to sit back a little bit when you're hurt because you don't feel as though you're really, really a part of the team. Yep, we all know that Jalen Hurts is part of the team, and they see him that way. But you get a more impressive message from the leader if he's out on the field. And I think you'll see that this week, that you haven't seen in a while. The focus will be back there. They weren't focused like they've been focused. They weren't doing things the way crossing their T's and dotting their I's like they were supposed to.
I just ran down the stats on the rushing on the New York Giants side in the game they played a couple of weeks ago. For those who have forgotten from just 4 weeks ago, the Eagles were pretty effective running the football. Miles Sanders, 17 for $144. That's 8.5 yards an attempt. Outrageously good. 2 touchdowns. Jalen Hurts, 7 rushes, 77 yards, 11 yards of rush. That's real nice when you get hand a guy the ball.
Absolutely.
No, he's going to get 11 yards. First down to first down to first down to first down. And then Boston Scott had 6 for 33. So it doesn't the top 2 guys are the ones that are certainly most important. I want them both running the football less this week because you need them for the postseason. And Miles is playing with a little bit of a knee. He hasn't been going full participant in practice. He's wearing a brace on Sundays for the game. I don't want to see Miles carry it 17 times on Sunday. Do you, Barry?
No, I absolutely don't. And that's why we have Boston Scott. That's why he can be key in this game. That's why we have Kenneth Gainwell. He'll be key in this game. We don't need to run him into the dirt. The way our offense is constructed, you see how good, especially Boston Scott, you see how good he played when he plays against the Giants, years past. He's been an impressive player against the Giants. Kenneth Gainwell is starting to feel himself a little bit and really starting to play at a high level. Give him the rock. You don't have to have and necessarily go to Miles Sanders every single time. You have guys that can go out there and run. I mean, it's hard to find Boston Scott when he's out there. That's why, by the time you see him, he's up on the defense so quick that, that he's become an effective player running in between the tackles. Give them guys an opportunity. You know what I mean? Just because you have a 1,000-yard back doesn't mean you have to use him. It'd be good to use him early, then get him out of there just to, make sure he's safe. I'm not saying bubble wrap him, but you have other guys that can go out there and tote the rock also.
And you specifically mentioned the whole Boston Scott basically scores a touchdown every time he plays the New York Giants, which is accurate. So the Eagles have to kind of bank on that again this week. Jalen, 7 for 77. Now, we had some fun at Nick Sirianni's expense in the Chicago game when he broke down every single play that Jalen Hurts, quote unquote, ran the football. He said the kneel downs at the end don't count. All right, I'll agree with that. The quarterback sneaks don't count. Well, yeah, they do. The percentages are highly unlikely you're going to get injured, but Patrick Mahomes tore his meniscus a couple of years ago on a quarterback sneak. So it's not like it can't happen, but it very infrequently happens. The RPOs and or zone reads, then that's up to that's not a called running play. That's not a designated quarterback run. So that doesn't count. So somehow in 17 rushing attempts, Nick Sirianni got it down to only 2 real running attempts, where it was a called designated run, snap it to Jalen, and he's taken off on his own. He ran it 7 times against the Giants, which is a hell of a lot less than he did against the Bears in the game that he got hurt. Did they call any designated running plays with Jalen Hurts in the game on Sunday?
No. I think the only run that he'll be doing is if they do that RPO. And, that's hard to say because if you go man-to-man against them, it's just too appetizing to drop back, and then you have those DBs turn their back, and it opens up like the Red Sea. You can run for like 30 yards. He'll just have to slide earlier. But man, that's what happens when you're that good on the outside with AJ Brown, and when you have Smitty out there, Devontae Smith out there, it's hard not to run when it just opens up like the Red Sea, because you have to make sure you account for those are big impact players out there at the wide receiver position. Dallas Goedert is a good guy that you have to make sure you bracket coverage. And only with the bracket coverage these guys, you got to go man to man and bring somebody over the top. That's taking somebody out of the box. That's taking somebody away from guarding him, you know, as a runner. When you do that, see what makes Jalen so good, you have to account for him in the number count. When you have Gardner Minshew out there, they're defending 10 people. When Jalen's out there, you have to defend all 11. And that's the difference in how you run the ball and how he's able to go out there and virtually, you know, scramble effectively, because that happens. I can see him running, you know, in the red zone, a QB draw, because, you know, if they guess right and it's man-to-man, it's going to be a wide open run, you know what I'm saying? He could probably score on it. You just have to make sure you do it sparingly and understanding that, you know, you got to tell Jalen, hey, stop, drop, and roll. You know what I'm saying? Stop, drop, and roll. Don't try to be a hero. Slide, get down. We don't care about the extra yardage. We need you for the playoffs.
All right, let's jump over to the other side of the ball. We haven't talked all that much about the Eagle defense, what they need to do Sunday against the Giants. My opinion has been, and let's see if you agree or disagree, a big reason why the Eagles were as undefeated as long into the season as they were getting such superior cornerback play. And I listened to Jonathan Gannon yesterday saying the defensive line pressure makes it easier for the back seven. The back seven make it easier for the defensive. It's a symbiotic thing that they help each other. They play defense as a unit. I believe that. But there's also the individuality of it. And both Bradford and Big Play Slay were just shutting people down and not giving up anything on the outsides. Last couple of weeks, maybe even more than a couple of weeks for Slay, last couple of weeks for Bradford, the cornerback play has not been as good. They've both been beaten in big spots too. Is there a reason for that? A little running out of gas thing? Why do you think the two, at one point, I think I got this from your buddy of mine, Ruben Frank, after 7 or 8 games of the season, the number 1 ranked cornerback in the league for pass rusher rating, passer against rating was Bradford in the 30s. Usually you got a pass rusher rating of 100. The good quarterbacks are above 100. The solid quarterbacks are in the 90s. The ones who aren't good enough are in the 80s. He's given up 30, like 38%, 38 quarterback rating against Bradford. And the second best in the league was Slay in the low 40s. They were 1-2 in the league on the same team. That's unheard of. Yeah, they're both. Slay is up way into the 100, like up near 130, and Bradford's number's gone up pretty significant as well. What happened to the Eagle cornerback play, Barry?
It's how you call the defense. They're not calling an aggressive style of defense because of the slot corner position. I mean, that's all it is.
Well, that's what you think it is, huh?
Gannon doesn't trust the slot corner. You know, when he had Avante in there, he was able to call stuff. They were able to be aggressive. They didn't play press coverage until the half, you know, till the second half. And, you know, and I'm saying you can play press corners versus zone and man. And what I'm saying is by press, you can just be, 3 to 4 yards from the guy. Take the first read away. That's what they weren't doing in the first half. They weren't taking that first read away. So no matter what your pass rush is, if you don't take the first read away and the quarterback's able to get the ball out, then, it's all for nothing. It wasn't until the second half when they started getting those sacks. The reason they started getting them sacks, guys started getting press corners. They started getting, close to them and playing tighter on the receiver. That takes, first of all, the initial read away from the quarterback. Now they can cover. Now those two are more comfortable near the cornerback, near the wide receiver. They feel more comfortable when they're reaching out to him, when they can touch him. They don't want to play back like that, even though Bradbury can. He's a pretty good, a zone covers corner. He wants to get up there, be in a guy's face, reroute a guy if he wants to. That's when they feel more comfortable, when it's tangible, when they can touch him, when they can be right up on him. When you make them play back, it's a guessing game. You can guess in and out. They could be more aggressive when they play up, but when you have that slot corner that's not playing at a level, then it's going to put Jonathan Gannon in a position like, I can't be as aggressive, because if he misses, this guy's running wide open. This guy's running free. The hole's going to open up. He's going to get into the zone, sit down where he needs to go. You can't play at aggressive nature when you don't have – when Josiah – let me just put it in perspective. When you have Josiah Scott in there, He doesn't trust them enough to play tight press coverage. Now, CJ, you can press cover him. He can play that aggressive style. You can feel more comfortable with a guy like that in the slot as opposed to having, Josiah Scott there. That's it. The bottom line is he doesn't trust Josiah Scott. So you got to play a different style of defense with Josiah Scott in there.
All right. Know that you're a positive guy. So the positive answer to this question is Eagles win Sunday against Giants, and they control their own destiny, and they take care of their own business. But if the Eagles were to lose to the Giants, how much confidence do you have in Sam Howell and David Blau, who will be quarterbacking the Commanders of Washington against the Cowboys and the Cardinals of Arizona against the 49ers, that those two guys can come up big at the QB position and allow the Eagles to back into the #1 seed in the NFL playoffs?
Jody Mack, there's not a snowball's chance in hell they can even come close to beating either one of those teams.
Come on, Sam Howell was great at North Carolina.
At North Carolina, yes. He hadn't even seen the field yet, so there's no confidence in that. In fact, what is going on up there? I mean, what is going on, man?
Oh, we could do. We got 5 minutes left in the show. We could do 25 minutes on Ron Rivera.
Well, how do you do that? How do you do that? How do you start Wentz when Heineke went 5 for 3 for him? And you're gonna start Wentz, and instantly comes out and does Wentz stuff. 3 interceptions. I know one of them, was throw it up and somebody go get it, but still, that's a whole show in itself. Carson Wentz, man. But there's no confidence in them, even though their defense is good.
David Blau, the former backup from the Lions, the star of Hard Knocks this past year. You're not believing in him in Arizona, huh?
Not at all, man. Not at all.
Yeah. Nor do I, but I just wanted to throw it out there.
So if we do lose, we'll be the 6th seed. We'll be the 6th seed, and we'll be 5. We'll be 5th seed, and we'll be going to play Tom Brady.
Yeah, probably going to see the Brady Bunch.
Do you want that?
No,
especially at the level they're playing right now.
I know the Bucs are going to finish if they win this last week, which, as per their coach, they're going to play their starters this week, even though they've already locked up the division. I'm not a big Todd Bowles fan. I kind of like the Jets, and I watched Todd coach the Jets. Yeah. Not good. As a head coach, he's a great defensive coordinator.
Right.
And that's a problem. But I kind of agree with him on this one. I think they do need to play some of their guys to go into the playoffs and have at least a 9-8 record rather than an 8-9, which is kind of backing in an embarrassment. So yeah, if I'm the Eagles, I want no part of Tampa. I need an off week rather than having to go down and deal with
we absolutely need it, man. That's why I say we're gonna have to play our starters. We're gonna have to play football, man. We're gonna have to play.
Agreed. All right, so Barrett Brooks. All these things taken into consideration that you and I have talked about for the last 50 minutes, put it all together in a pot, stir it up. What do you come out with for a score for Eagles Giants?
I'm going 28 28 17. 28-17. That's what we're going to score. 28-17.
28-17.
Let me write that down.
Which would not give you a cover on a 13.5 or a 14-point line.
Oh, they're not covering. They're not covering. They're winning the game, but they're not covering. No.
Okay, good. And you sound pretty positive about that.
Yep.
I hate to say it, but I'm with you. I think the Eagles are going to win. The worst case scenario, the panic in the streets, lose 3 straight games going into the playoffs. People will start to say this, choking, fill it up. No, that will be avoided. They will win the game. They will find a way to win the game. But yeah, I think that it's actually going to be less than a double-digit lead going into the fourth quarter. That maybe the Eagles get a field goal. But I'm right around your score. I think they win by 10 or 11 points. Maybe somewhere in the vicinity of 26-16.
Yep.
About a 10-point margin. I think both teams will pull starters at one point, and we'll be evaluating Eagle backups against Giant backups because If the Eagles have what you suggested is a big enough lead, 14 points, to pull their guys, then you might see Tyrod Taylor make a play that gets a little bit closer. Eagles win. Eagle fans out there, I don't think we're going to have to do a whole week of, oh, my God, how did they choke away this NFC East lead? I do not think that's going to happen. But nor do I think you're going to be able to go to the red zone at 3:15 because the Eagles are already up by 3 touchdowns. I think they're going to be a little bit more protective. I think they're going to run a less than Eagle-like offense to protect Jalen Hurts from himself. So I don't think it's going to be a highlight film win by the Eagles, but I think they do get the win. So
they get the win, bro. We
will wait till Monday and find out. All right. So you got to hang with Derek Gunn and Rob Ellis later today?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, man. It's I can just sit back and just put it in cruise control with those two, man, because D Gunn's got his own opinions, man, and oftentimes he's wrong and I'm right. So just let you guys
there you
know.
go.
Yeah.
That's what we like there, a little internal strife. Not like McMullen and I never agree on everything. He just didn't pick up the point that I was trying to sell at the earlier of the show, but that's okay. One quick question, and pulling behind the curtain for everybody to see. Do you actually brush your beard on air when you're on with those guys? Since you're not paying attention to what they're doing. This is Barrett before the show starts. I get to see him in the practice window before we punch him up. And he's going pretty good on brushing that beard. I'm just wondering, when Rob and Derek get off on a tangent, do you just go to the combing of the beard?
Yeah, I got to, man. I mean, look at yours. I need to get mine, finally, groomed like yours. Yours is finally
stop
groomed
it.
all the time.
I wish I had the darkness of yours. Mine, I've been looking like Santa Claus for 10, 15 years now. I wish I had a little dark still in mine. I'm envious of yours. Big B, we love it whenever you jump in with us here on Birds 365. Thank you very much for doing
Appreciate it. Thank you.
We'll probably call on you again because we're both predicting an Eagle win, which means continued into the playoffs. So any Friday I get you a football Friday with you is good. I thank you for doing so today.
Appreciate it, man.
Barrett Brooks in for Johnny Mac. Johnny Mac and I will be back on Monday because we know the Eagles are going to the playoffs. They already locked that up. We want a nice, easy week where we don't have to sweat an opponent just yet. Hopefully that's the case.
We need that 2 weeks rest.
Yes, Barrett needs rest. I need it more. And hopefully we get just that. Everybody have a great week. Enjoy the Eagle game on Sunday. We'll be back here on Birds 365 on Monday. Catch